Hello, this is Douglas Rumbaugh. Now, as you may or may not know, I'm actually a teacher, and this semester, for reasons, the school that I teach at decided to go strictly online. So we're doing nothing but online classes this semester, and as a result, I've been messing around with different technology solutions to online teaching. I have taught online before. In fact, some of the first classes that I taught were online. But this case is a little bit different because I wanted to use my Linux desktop, what you basically see in front of you here, as a centralized platform for doing this. So I'm teaching most of my classes in Microsoft Teams using screen sharing. And basically what I do is I just share this screen and drag application windows into the screen, and I manage everything that way. Now, one of the tools that I really use quite extensively is a whiteboard. I do a lot of diagramming and drawing and working out of math and things of that nature. And so I needed some sort of a whiteboard analog that worked particularly well in Linux on this Linux environment. And I was never particularly happy with something like a Wacom tablet. My handwriting's bad enough to begin with, and it's just far worse there. So I spent a fair amount of time trying to resolve this whiteboard tablet drawing situation thing on this computer. And a bit before the semester actually started, I came up with a solution that I think works pretty well. Now, it's admittedly rather niche because it requires you to have a fairly expensive piece of kit just laying around, but if this happens to apply to you, maybe this is something that you can use as well for doing whiteboarding stuff in Linux. Now, when I first started teaching online classes quite a while back, my plan was to do the whiteboarding stuff using a Surface Pro tablet, a Microsoft tablet, which works really well. I had the opportunity to basically get one for free through a research grant I was on when I was in graduate school for various reasons. We kind of needed a small form factor device that could run full software. I stuck Ubuntu on it, and we could use that as a ground control station for something I was working on. Anyway, the long and short of it is I had experience with the tablet. I knew that it worked pretty well, and so when it came time to actually start teaching these online classes, I bought one. At that point, it was a tax deduction, and it worked pretty well for what I was using it for. And then it kind of sat for the past year or so when I haven't been teaching online classes. But I dusted it off because it is really nice, and it works quite well for me for drawing. The problem is, how do I get a steady, low latency, and that's really important, low latency feed of basically the screen capture from this tablet here as a window I can drag around on my Linux desktop? And I figured out a solution that works pretty well. So that's what I wanted to share with you here. So this is really low latency, and I think it works really well. I've had great success with it over the first couple weeks of the semester. No issues whatsoever. And my solution, as it turns out, is VNC. VNC is a remote display control protocol. You use it a lot in servers and things of that nature. For example, if you set up a Proxmox box, I'm going to say that 10 times fast. Proxmox. If you set up a Proxmox box and you remote into a virtual machine running on it, you're going to be using a VNC to do that. So VNC is quite common in that space. And it's really easy to set up. So if you happen to have a Surface Pro tablet laying around, all you have to do is install a VNC server on your Surface Pro tablet. Or presumably this will work for any tablet that can run a VNC server. I'm using Tight VNC, which is just an open source VNC server. It's an open protocol. There are many servers, many clients. You can pick one you like. I'll throw a link to this in the video description though. Just install it, run it, and then you're good. Then all you will need is a VNC client on your desktop computer that you want to get your tablet as a window on. and I'm using remotely as mine. So it works quite well. Again, it's a no map. It's a no map. So there's absolutely zero configuration. You basically launch it and you give it an IP address. You give it your password, and it drops you in. And yeah, you don't have a whole hell of a lot of configuration options. But I don't need a whole hell of a lot of configuration options for what I'm doing, so it works quite well. And the great thing about VNC is that it's a two-way feed, so I can draw on the tablet and have it show up, or I can use the mouse on my computer and the keyboard on my computer and do stuff inside of here. So I'm typing and using the mouse on my desktop computer to control the tablet. So it's a nice two-way feed, which is quite convenient. Although, to be honest with you, I don't use that very much because it's pretty much just a drawing tablet. I don't do much else with it, at least not as of yet. I'm sure that I will. So I explored a couple of different options before settling upon VNC. One of the early ones that I tried out was VLC, not to be confused with VNC, but VLC, the media player. Because one thing that VLC will allow you to do is you can set up a media stream, and so I can stream my desktop to the network. Requires a little bit of setup, but you can stream your desktop to the network and then connect into that stream from VLC on a different computer. So obviously VLC works in Windows. So one of my first attempts was just install VLC on the tablet, set up a network stream of the desktop, and hook into that. And although the stream worked fine, the feed was good. It was good quality. There wasn't a whole lot of artifacting or jittering or anything like that. There was a lot of latency. So it would be on the order of tens of seconds between when I drew something on the tablet and when it actually showed up on the feed from VLC, which really was not acceptable for my use case of doing this, of lecturing in real time and wanting to be able to quickly draw out diagrams or throw some equations or whatever. So that didn't really work all that well. And I also wasn't particularly enamored with remote desktop for this because, again, it had a little bit of latency and the video quality wasn't great. Remote desktop really isn't designed for this sort of thing, you know? It's like playing a video game over remote desktop and this is a similar level, although not quite as demanding, but you get the idea. So after exploring those options, I did wind up going with the VNC route, and it works quite well. So again, it's kind of niche. You have to have a Surface tablet laying around or some other Windows tablet with reasonable drawing support to make use of it. But if you happen to be in the same situation that I was in, VNC is actually a really good solution for basically turning a tablet into a Wacom drawing tablet or something like that. And you don't have any issues with driver support or anything like that. It is tricky to get the file. I can't just save the file from here and get it over here on the network or over here on the device, but it's trivial to set up a Samba share or something, and getting files between the two is really not that bad either. It's an extra step, but it's not horrible. And so that was my solution. So I hope that you found this interesting. It's perhaps not strictly Linux related or computer science related, but I'm sure that I am not the only person who is tackling the challenges of online teaching using Linux. So this is a fairly good solution, I think, to the problem of whiteboards.